Are there control agendas? Yes, of course there are. And the thing isn't a farce. And it is being utilized opportunistically. The whole don't let a good crisis go to waste. Well, if I'm playing the market, when the market has more volatility, if I'm one of the better players that has more insight, I'm going to do a lot better than when the market doesn't have volatility. And so a few people have made a shit ton of money in the last couple of months when almost everybody lost a lot of money, like the movement of trillions of dollars that basically concentrated. And so if I'm a major financial player in the hedge fund world or whatever, and I have intelligence briefings, it tells me this thing has jumped out of Wuhan and it's going to fuck the world up and whatever. Could I, with all of my money and connections, try to talk to the CDC and the WHO and the president, whatever, and get them to do a better job of handling this? Well, I could. I probably would succeed at that, but I'm not going to because that's not my job. And I'm not motivated to do that. And my fiduciary responsibility to shareholders anyways is to maximize profit. And I'm about to fucking short this market completely, sell the stocks at the top and then buy shit back up at the bottom for, a fraction of what it was worth a couple months ago and will be worth again very soon. Now, in the same way that market volatility creates the opportunity for more power grabs, it also creates the opportunity, increased volatility in the world creates an opportunity for more political power grabs. And so before this happened, China was trying to advance the Belt and Road Initiative, and Russia was trying to get Eastern Europe back into deeper alliance with it. And a couple different forces in the US were pretty focused on fighting each other for the US power grab. And so then when this situation comes, they just keep doing the thing they were doing, just using the increased volatility of trillions of dollars of stimulus money and who can get it and shit like that. But that also then ends up influencing media narratives and even what science is getting funded. And so then we look at things like contact tracing. Okay, well, we have to do diagnostics so that we can stop the spread of the disease. But then if someone tests positive, we want to know everyone that they've interacted with so that we can go test them as well. Because otherwise you'll have, a single person who's asymptomatic can reinfect the whole world. So we're going to empower some kind of phone-based app to do contact tracing. Should people be concerned about that from a civil liberties surveillance point of view? Absolutely. Like, that's a really terrible thing that shouldn't happen in that way. And it's a really valuable thing. And these are both true, right? Like, I think we need contact tracing. And I don't want high-tech surveillance that will never be removed afterwards. Because if you look, I'll speak to the US here because I know it better. When an emergency happens, we'll usually put in a provisional emergency act to deal a wartime type act. But we don't repeal it after the fucking thing's over, hardly ever, because once power players have got more power, they don't tend to give it back, right? They don't have to. And everybody else customizes and moves on, and Kardashians or whatever. And so the FISA Act or the Patriot Act or the Homeland Security Act or those don't roll away. Okay, so after 9/11 and we realized they didn't really have weapons of mass destruction, do we roll those acts back? No. And so is that this type of situation again, but where we even start getting into wanting to breach people's biomedical security and be able to determine whether they can travel or not based on whether they have antibodies or vaccinated, or I think that's really dangerous. And I think we need to do contact tracing. Now, I think we can do low-tech contact tracing, just like we did with epidemics throughout all of history, where you just ask people, who did you come in contact with? And I think there are certain forms of contact tracing technologically that are much safer. And I think there are ways to put forced expiries in them, right? But this is where it's like, if you hear, let's say you're kind of left-oriented and you hear the guys who are saying this is just a big hoax and they just want to surveil us, they're partly right. Now, what they're saying as is actually very dangerous and pernicious and problematic, but they're also kind of partly right, which is, are there agendas that are seeking to advance the asymmetric power they already have in this situation, and we should watch out for it? Yes, of course. And typically, when you see that power follows a power law distribution, right? You'll have a few people who have most of the power and then progressively less. The people who got here didn't get it by sharing their power. Like that's not how that happened. They got it by winning at game theory again and again and again and again and getting good at doing that thing, right? So typically those who have more power, asymmetric power in a power law distribution, use their asymmetric power to protect and get more asymmetry of power. Like that's the generator function. And they're fighting against other people who are also trying to do it. So, you know, is it going to be Zuckerberg or is it going to be Xi Jinping who gets the Metcalfe law, one ring to rule them all, that creates the digital currency that is the new reserve currency for the world? So then you can even have the plausible deniability of saying, well, I have to do this, otherwise the other guy is going to do the thing, right? Now, that still looks like those with the most power using that radical asymmetric power to concentrate more power. Does that tend to be in the good of everyone? No. Will we give one example where it seems to be in the good of everyone as the source of selling point, the sugar that makes the medicine go down? Sure. So this is when we talk about perspective seeking and the faulty confidence. I only see faulty confidence in kind of mainstream narratives because mostly they live at too low a complexity level to make adequate sense of reality.